The average high earner in your bracket is underestimating their real retirement number by almost half. Not 10%, not 20, almost half. And the wild part is, the mistake is not in the saving. It is in 4 specific inputs. They never actually sit down and multiply, because the number in their head feels close enough. It is not. That number in your head is a ghost. It is doing arithmetic from the version of your life that existed 15 years ago. When you rented, when nobody called you dad, when a good week cost you a third of what a normal week costs now. And the specific mechanism that doubles the gap is hiding inside input number 2. The one almost nobody in our income range gets right. We will get there in about 4 minutes. Your real retirement number is not a feeling. It is 4 specific inputs, sitting in a specific order, producing one answer that is yours. Not the guy at work, not the podcast host, yours. And once you see the 4 inputs, you cannot unsee them, because you will realize which one you have been quietly getting wrong for about a decade. Picture 2 neighbors. Same block, same income, same kids in the same schools. One of them is planning for a future where his life costs $360,000 a year. The other is planning for a future where his life costs $650,000 a year. Same starting point. Same year. One of them is about to run out of money, roughly 8 years early, and he does not know it yet. By the end of this, you will know which neighbor you have been. Let us start where everyone starts, and where almost everyone goes wrong in the same direction. Input 1. What does your life actually cost in a year when nobody is working? Not the budget you wish you had, the one you actually live in. Most people, when they try to answer this, look at their paycheck. They subtract what goes into savings and call the rest their spending. That number is almost always too low, because it misses the irregular stuff, the roof, the car that finally died, the wedding in another state, the year the braces showed up. Fidelity estimated a typical couple retiring today will spend somewhere near $300,000 on healthcare alone. Across retirement, that is not a line item on your current budget. That is a second mortgage, stretched across 25 years, that nobody handed you a statement for. So before we go anywhere else, do this. Take your gross household income. Subtract what you save, subtract what you pay in taxes. What is left is closer to the truth. For a household in the range we are talking about, that number often lands somewhere between $120,000 and $160,000 a year of actual spending. Your number may be meaningfully different depending on your city, your mortgage, and how many kids are still in the house. That is fine. The point is to use the real number, not the polite one. Here is the punchy version of what we just established, because I want you to hear it clean. Your retirement math does not start with how much you have saved. It starts with how much your life quietly costs. Input 2, the slow thief, inflation. This is the one I promised you 4 minutes ago. The mechanism that doubles the gap. The official inflation number, the one reported on the news, runs somewhere around 3% a year over long stretches. Fine, but your inflation is not that number. Your inflation is made of private school tuition, health insurance, home repairs, and the specific groceries your family actually buys. Research on households earning over $200,000 has found their personal cost increases often run closer to 4.5% or even 5% a year, sustained for a decade at a time. Let me say that again, because it is the single most expensive sentence in this video. Your personal cost of living is rising faster than the number you hear on the news. Over 30 years, the gap between 3% and 5% is not a rounding error. It roughly doubles the size of the retirement number you actually need. Think back for a second. When was the last time, in the past 3 years, you stood in the checkout line and actually stared at the total? Because the number did not match what that same cart used to cost. Most households in our bracket can name the exact moment. That is not you being careless. That is the gap between the inflation number on the news and the inflation number on your receipt. Now, let me be honest about the other direction. Because a one-sided argument is not a true one. Some costs genuinely drop in retirement. No commute, no payroll taxes. The mortgage, for many, is gone. That is real. But when you actually line them up, the commute and payroll tax relief together usually free up somewhere between 12 and 15% of your current spending. Healthcare plus your personal inflation rate quietly adds back roughly twice that. The relief is real. It does not close the gap. It softens the corner of it. Take a breath here. I know inputs 1 and 2 landed heavy. The next two are going to feel like more of the same, but they are not. One of them stretches the timeline. The other shrinks the pile. They move in opposite directions. And once you see them that way, the math gets simpler, not scarier. And the fourth one, in particular, contains a percentage most people in your bracket think they understand, but estimate in the wrong direction by almost 10 points. I will name it in about 2 minutes. Input 3. How long the money has to last. This is the one nobody wants to sit with. If you and your spouse are both healthy and in your early 40s today, there is a meaningful chance at least one of you sees 90. Plan for 30 years of retirement, and you may run out at the exact moment life gets most expensive. Plan for 35. The extra 5 years is not pessimism. It is the cost of not being wrong. Input 4. What the tax code actually lets you keep. This is the input that quietly eats the dream. And this is the percentage I flagged a minute ago. When your statement says $1.8 million in your 401k, that is the sticker. The usable number, after the government takes its share on the way out, is closer to 1.3. Most people in our bracket, when you ask them what rate the government actually takes on the way out, guess, somewhere around 15%. Does that match the number in your head? Because the real answer is not close. Vanguard found the average effective tax rate on retirement withdrawals for households in our range often lands between 22 and 26%. Once you stack federal, state, and the surcharges nobody warned you about, 22 to 26. Roughly a quarter of every dollar you pull handed back before it reaches your checking account. Your state may soften that, or sharpen it. Run your own. So, 4. Inputs. Real annual cost. Your personal inflation, not the headline one. A lifespan long enough to not be wrong. And the after-tax haircut on every dollar you pull. Multiply them in that order and you get your number. Not a feeling, a figure. Here is what to do with this tonight. 15 minutes, 3 steps. First, open last year's tax return and your bank statements. Add up gross income, subtract taxes, subtract savings. Write that number down. That is your real annual cost. Most people have never seen it on paper. Second, look at the last 3 years of your own life. Tuition, premiums, groceries, repairs. Estimate how much they have actually climbed per year. If it is above 3%, and for most households reading their own receipts, honestly, it is. Use your number, not the news. One punchy sentence to carry out the door. Your retirement number is not what your friends are saving toward. It is what your life will cost, rising at your rate, lasting longer than you expect, after the tax bill you have not opened yet. Which opens the next question. And it is the one I want you thinking about on the drive tomorrow. If the real number is bigger than the one in your head, does that mean you need to save more? Or does it mean something about the order in which you are already saving is quietly wrong?